Hey, hey, John. Yeah, stick around for a bit. Mark, g'day. Peter, hello. Bill, hello. Hope you're feeling a little bit better and more put together. Mark Osborne, g'day. Matt, g'day. What's happening? It's all happening. I've got coffee too. That's about where we're at. Hey, Stuart. Tea and biscuits, g'day. I don't know what's been happening. Not a lot. Fridge, g'day. I'm pretty well staffed, to be honest. That's where I'm at. Really don't want to. Yeah. Got another few days' work before I'm off for the weekend down to Fridges, which I'm totally hanging out for. I'm about that close from quitting my job today, and I'd be down for that, except that I need income next week. Anyway, that's how I'm feeling. Randy, g'day. Do something about your picture at some point. Thanks for the note. Anyway. John, don't think these are where we're at, but we're working on them. You know what this is about. So, John Pettit. Yeah, I need intro. Need all that stuff. I usually wait 20 minutes, I usually wait 20, like 30 seconds before the ad. But I didn't this morning, and I'm sorry about that. Harley's hanging out for the weekend. Good stuff. Need my Harley. Chilling in front of the fire. Yeah, nice. We don't have a fire here. So this shot's for John Pettit. I don't know if these are really the answer. We're still looking at that. James P. G'day. Pattern Makers Letters. Chirp's not in. He might have some feedback or idea about them. But anyway. What's been happening? I've got a tin of paint here. Look at this. I've got a tin of paint. Steamroller paint. This is sort of half fixed. I've got to start. Right. It's not real good. Thread's gone sideways a little bit, but it's sort of all right. This needs riveting in here. We turn this over. When we knock this out, it's got a countersink in the back. There's the remainder of that rivet that was in there. So we need to put that through. Like so. Goes through like that. Rivet that end over, hot rivet it over, and then it'd be a pretty good job. So that's that one. Did that yesterday or something. I think it'll be all right. Fix that. Got final coat of paint on this piece, which goes on this piece here. There you go. Look at that. Which is probably could do with another coat in a few days. Next week maybe. Might leave it a week, but it's starting to look a little bit better than it was. So that bracket actually goes in this slot with 3 coach bolts. Count them, 1, 2, 3. And that's the water hose carrier. So that's why that's black. It's a contrast piece. So that's done. It's ready to go on probably. What else I do? I've got some steel cut for some 1/2 inch Whitworth nuts, which never got any further than that. Be very nice if it was. Hopefully by the end of this weekend we might get some of this paint on the actual steamroller, which would be very, very nice. Got strip of discs and wire wheels and all sorts of stuff to go. So we'll see how we go. I think we've got everything organised. Hopefully that works. Got some video of this job so far. I will have a video of that. That's where we're at. This did some work yesterday, so it's a little bit dirty, but still works. Haven't got to putting this on here yet. Haven't got to anything else. I'd love to have it all finished, but times. If I've got time, I've got money, and if I haven't got time, if I've got a little bit of cash, I haven't got time, so. Don't know what the door looks like without a pick. That's the door. That's what that is. Just goes in the hole, and there's a bridle goes over the top. Tighten the nut down with a gasket. It's a pretty ordinary door, to be honest. It's pretty ordinary, but anyway. Can explain the process of taking the roller out of steam and what point you're happy to walk away with it. Rake the fire out, I guess, is first. Gosh, everyone, it feels like I'm being probably assessed on this. Park it, be your sleep, Dan says. That's sort of it. Rake the fire. When it dies down a bit, rake the fire. Raking the fire in the roller doesn't really mean that it's going to stop making steam, so you've got to keep an eye on it. You can rake the fire and have it blow the safety valves off in 20 minutes, so it's not really how that works. Generally blow it down pretty rigorously. There's plenty of water in it, 1/3 of a glass. That's probably a smart thing to do. And we generally leave it as a tick over. Hey, Stephen. And it might tick over for when it looks like it's sort of stopped moving. We put it back in centre gear sometimes. Should put it back in centre gear. And either a bit before that, blow it all down, blow it down dry, or more likely the next morning we come out and pump the water out of it, leave all the plugs open if it's a nice warm sunny day. And walk away from it when it's finally quiet. But there's not a whole lot more to it than that. Hey, David. But the thing will... If it drops back past about 50 psi or a bit less, there's a pretty good chance it's not going to wake up again if there's no fire in it. If you've got 120 and you rake the fire and the water drops or whatever, you're probably going to find that it's going to blow its head off. But the thing about the roller is that it's a fairly high pressure boiler and it's not very big, so there's not a lot of steam space in the top. Above the tubes, it's not huge, and it tends to make steam fairly efficiently when it's hot. So that's about it. And generally it's good to oil it up, and it's probably a really smart thing to go run around it and polish brass and stuff while you're doing that. But generally at the end of the day, beer sounds better. And if the fire's out and it's dropped enough pressure that it's not going to regain it, it's all good. But if the fire's out and you've still got 110, 120 on the clock, there's a pretty good chance that for various reasons that it's going to keep making pressure. Hey Rustnux, good to see you. But other boilers are not quite like that, I don't think, and the roller does tend to make steam out of nothing when it's hot. And if the water level drops off, or if you can't sort of pump water in it continuously and hope to not overfill it or prime it. But we generally just leave it running. That's sort of what happens. But yeah, don't drive it in the river. I mean, if you have enough water, once you rate the fire right out, it shouldn't make any more pressure in theory. That's very true. It's not how it works, but it's true. The theory is great. Generally, if you rate the fire out and it's got plenty of water, it's been known to make pressure. But yeah, technically you are blowing a bomb. It's all good. It'll tick over nicely, and it'll tick over probably for an hour from 100 psi with no fire in it, quite comfortably. But yeah, door open blow on is probably a good idea too. But yeah, it's how we live. But a bit of fresh air through the thing and doesn't probably do it a lot of damage when it's hot, but you don't want to be chilling it off too much. Tubes are surrounded by hot water on the outside. I don't think that I really don't think that that a gust of cold air going through them is going to make a lot of difference, to be honest. Might be different if they weren't covered up, but yeah. They're all tricks to getting it to quieten down. Usually when you want it to quieten down is when it doesn't. Once the thing starts, it sort of creeps up to about 180 psi, it's inevitable that you're going to be blowing it down and pumping water in and blowing it down and pumping water in and blowing it down and pumping water in until you actually do some work with the engine. But it's a little boiler and it's got a lot more surface area than a lot of other boilers. I think it's kind of a roller boiler, or in particular a roller boiler, more so than even a traction engine boiler. It's got a lot more surface area for the bit of water in it, and they tend to get pretty. I mean, you can take it for a drive with no fire in. However, when it stops, it sort of stopped where it stopped, isn't it? That's a bit of a problem. That's where that comes unstuck. If you've got it parked up for the night and sheeted up or whatever, you don't really feel much like moving it too far. Anti-corrosion product, yes. Tannin in the water. It does. It's sort of anti-corrosion's one thing it does. It's probably one of the things tannin does. Yeah, big compound like that at low pressure, if you take it for a drive, you're going to end up in the middle of a driveway or a gateway somewhere. Absolutely. I guarantee it. That's embarrassing. Tannin also, it does things to water quality and steam quality. It changes the surface tension of the bubbles and things like that. It gives you less foam on top of the water when it's boiling, and therefore more steam space, all those sort of things. Good stuff. Towing it with a Land Rover is really not something that I'm not sure if you realise the logistics of this thing. Yeah, you need a fairly big tractor to move it uphill. Just saying, like a fairly big tractor, like about D6 size on a good day. Anyway. We all know close to nothing about boilers, but we bluff our way through. That's where we're at. Dan's the best at that, so we say he knows the best and knows the most, but honestly, he's just better at bluffing. Tea and Biscuits has got injector problems. Did you work out what it was? Fridge, you might like to go and have a look. It's got a bit of a rattle, and did you say it was draining water back out of the boiler? Or it was filling up the tank again when it wasn't picking up, or something like that. So, look, we'll have that conversation on Discord maybe. Yeah, steam back in the water tank. That's got to be an on-return valve, because that shouldn't happen. It's your steam should be coming out the overflow. That's what I'm saying is a block check valve. It's either blocked or it's just not seating properly. Now, I don't know whether there's a check valve in the bottom, whether there's one in the tank, or whether there's one, whether it's a check valve on the side of the boiler. Don't know. But injectors are tricky things. They either work fantastically or they don't work at all. And an injector, the smaller the injector, the more fussy, I think. Yes, there's a ball in the injector and one before the boiler. Between Mark and Dan, they should be able to fix that problem. There is a video on the general chat page of the Discord if you want to have a look. It could be back a little while, but there is a video there. See exactly what it's doing. We'd like to have a look because probably we can get it sorted out. There shouldn't be a whole lot wrong with it. Ball and injector. Not sure if the Pemberthy has one or not. It's got a flap, sort of. Pass, the one it came with. That's fair. Yeah, not much help with that. Mark says no, they don't. There you go. Wonder if it's a tank non-return valve. Anyway, that's how that's happening. I also, what else did I do this weekend? All sorts of stuff. No real painting. I was pretty slack with that. Pretty slack. I CAD'd this up. Now, this is, I guess this is what you're all hanging around waiting for because you've all seen pictures of it. It shouldn't need a tank non-return valve, that's right. Unless it's picking up out of if the injector's higher than the water level in the tank. And even then I don't know if it does. Anyway. Dan says it still don't need one. Righto. But anyway, it's not picking up. And I'm wondering whether the steam line's just a bit short and it's getting hot, or whether a wet rag over the top of it might fix it or something like that. Maybe it is a bit warm. Don't know. Anyway, found some drawings. For a Great Northern Railway. Great Northern? Yeah, Great Northern Railway chime whistle, which is fairly big. Too big to print on my 3D printer, and I thought I'd print one up and see what was actually involved in it. That's a 5-chime steam whistle, exactly. It's only 3D printed. Give you some sort of an idea. And this is a 60% scale model of the original. That messes up the tone and all sorts of things. And I haven't. Yeah, there are reasons that this probably won't work. But I thought just to see what's involved, and so I haven't actually hooked the heater up to it. I haven't got a bolt through the middle of it. It's got a fairly uniform groove around here, or gap around here, and everything should be right. It probably works on air. I don't know. Need a bigger 3D printer. Need more hours in the day, because this took me 12 hours or something to print. So 40% bigger is not going to make it any easier. But this is a real cross section through it, right? Give you some idea what this whistle looks like. Yeah, that's this tall, something like that. So it's a fair lump of a bell on it. We need a whistle for the sawmill, but I'm not sure if this is where we're going with it or not. This is a fun little casting, just in case anyone has ever done any castings thinks this looks easy. It's not. There are reasons that this is going to be a challenging casting, even in the big size. One is that you've only got this much surface, like this much wall thickness. So running, unless you've got a particularly liquid sort of a mix, something with a bit of frost copper in it or something. I've got bananas stuck in my ears. I'm not listening. I was having a bad week, so I thought about this and I've catted it up because I've been thinking about it for 2 years, really. Off and on. We've had this conversation several times over the last 12 months or more. So this core in the middle is hollow as well. Right, this has only got the same thickness of there with the top and bottom. So that's not going to work. If you're going to cast it, you would leave this open on the bottom here and machine a plug and silver solder in it afterwards or something. Weld in there. These fins are kind of important to the operation of it and a bit critical, I think. It's got 5 chambers in there and they're sort of critical lengths for and volume, I think. I don't know whether it's length or volume for tone. But I'm guessing there's people who know that stuff. I'm not one of them. Now, this cast in brass would make a beautiful whistle with a really nice tone. Maybe not. So it whistles with 5 different tones at once, like an American steam locomotive. I think it's probably the length too, but don't know. No one's mentioning. You've got enough whistles on the jolly thing now that we can nearly have one anyway. No one's mentioning the calliope. It's very true. So this could be fabricated reasonably easy out of a piece of 6-inch pipe. I think the calculation's completely beyond me, so there we go. Yeah, that's where I'm at. You probably could. With these fins on it, it's too big for the printer without being too tall. I think a piece of 6-inch pipe, look, this is all theoretical, right? It may never happen. Don't hold your breath about it. A bit of 6-inch pipe with a slit down the front, middle, and we could cut 20 mil or something out of it and close it up and weld it up so that it's the same diameter as this. A bit of 50 mil non-more bore pipe would fit nicely on the inside. If we milled slots in it, 5 mil slots, the same height as these in each position. And we got the outside piece of tube and we put slots up it for these fins, then that would hold everything. I've got a book on these. I've actually got a book on chime whistles, but it doesn't tell you a lot. If you did that, then you could slide it all together and slide the pieces in from the bottom, and that would space this nice and uniformly. And you could tack it all up, and then you could just put 5 covers on it. That's the theory. That's sort of where we're at with that. A 5 chime, a decent American 5 chime is about $3.5, $4 grand here. So that's what's involved in the bell. This is about 8-9 kilograms. It's 17 pound when it's put together. That's how much steel, brass, or whatever's in it. So pretty solid bit of gear. Don't feel like it's something I want to take on right now. But if anyone knows, with it's a bit of 6-inch pipe, about 10-12 inches long, I think diameter and length make a difference. Having said that, longer, smaller diameter whistles I know of are much lower pitched than bigger diameter short whistles, so I don't know. But there's the same diameter on the same area on the 5 of them. They're all just different lengths, so don't know. This drawing has been taken from an actual whistle that actually works, like a works drawing. And as far as I know, They all sort of sound the same because there are videos of this particular whistle working on YouTube. And to be honest, it's 5 chimes. Probably just going to make it, put it up there, and if it sounds awful, we make it again. If it doesn't, we leave it. That's kind of about the science that's going to be involved in it. This is the bowl, and this is the bell, this is the bowl, and this is the plate in the middle. Right, this plate's machined to be I think it's about 1/16 smaller than this on the full size one, so probably it's a tiny, it's only like a feather gap. It's like 32nd of an inch or something, which is 0.8, something like that. It's only the edge here that makes the noise, right? It's this edge on here. This edge here that makes the noise. It's the Rafa thing. Yeah. So there's a plate, which is fairly basic, really. And there's a bowl, which has got a... This is probably a fairly simple casting. I think just cast it in 2 pieces, like this cradle or pedestal or whatever it is in here, rather than mess around and make a complicated core that's going to need cleaning up and a lot of die grinding difficulty and stuff. I think just leave this blank in the middle, set up and machine it, make this, and either put 4 screws in it or silver soldered or something like that in 2 pieces. This has got a stud, which in the big one is crazy. It's like 7/8 stud this long, and that fastens this down, right? This has got a valve in it. Now I'll put that in there and probably never come out again. That was a bit silly. Here's a pencil. Yeah. So this is probably best made, and all the modern ones I've seen are made in 2 pieces. So this piece in the centre is all machined up with this valve seat on the bottom, and then the spool, the guide spool, is shrunk over the top with a couple of, even silver soldered to do, but shrunk over the top with a couple of pins in it to stop it moving. And that's got a lever goes through there and a wear block in it. And the lever goes in the side there. When you pull the lever out, this drops down, opens the valve, lets the steam in. Now, I think the secret to these is volume. So a big plenty of steam inlet is, I think, is probably the secret to it. You put it on a 2-inch pipe, you get a lot more noise than if you put it on a 1/2-inch pipe. So this is mostly all just thinking about it. So that's how that works. I think that's a fairly straightforward thing. It's got a screw that goes in the back and locks in the back of the groove, stops it coming out. Push, stops the movement. So it stops you dropping this down the pipe when you're assembling it. That's kind of where it is. And this has got to have like a nice fillet around the bottom, which my CAD program really struggled with because of the shape of it. So that the steam that goes in here doesn't have too many interruptions, or you're going to end up rotting this out very quickly, I would imagine. So, there's a lot of 3D printed junk that may or may not be a project one day in the future. Don't know. If I was going to fabricate this bell up, I would say that there's probably $100 worth of steel in it. If I was going to cast this in brass, I reckon that's a $500 casting right there. Like, seriously. The sensible way to cast it. What does it sound? It makes noise. Next stupid question. There's only one reason you have a whistle. It's for lunchtime, beer time, and noise making. Or I'm bored, yes. Or we would like someone to... Probably more likely we're driving backwards and forwards down the road, seeing how far away we could listen to it. It's more like how it is. Adds interest to the situation. I think if you were going to cast this, you would make a core box with 6 cores in it to like the 5 chambers in the middle one. And a solid base with grooves in it for the fins. So basically a core box with a core that sits down over that. So you would mould this in the top half of the flask on the outside. Lift it out, and you would have the pattern with the protrusion on here for the core box with a taper probably, so it sits nice and solid. And then when you lift the pattern out, you drop the core in place, sit the cover over the top of it, and pour it in from the top. I think that's where I'm at. You could pull it off and clean the C, Dan, or the E, or which one it is. You could lost wax it. Yeah, absolutely. Completely out of my budget. We'll have another look at this to give you some sort of idea of scale. It's a big lost wax casting. It's a big any sort of casting. You could lost wax it for sure, absolutely. And it'd be very nice, but what's that going to cost me? $500? $1,000? So I think it would be better, to be honest. I think we're probably going to fabricate up out of steel. Most of them are cast iron or steel. It should work just as well. I don't think you get the tone out of steel as you would out of brass, but probably not really noticeable because I've seen a lot of steel. I've heard a lot of steel whistles in the last little while. I've been sort of investigating this, and I don't think it'll worry us too much. So, bit of steel plate, 5 vanes, bit of pipe in the middle, 5 covers. Draw it all up, get it laser cut, and fit it all together. Weld it up, grind it up. I think that's the best way to fix that. Cast this out of brass for sure. in 2 bits. Make this, attach this to this, and then set it up and bore right through, I guess. I'm just trying to think how you would do this. I think set up and bore it right through and machine that surface and the outside, and then turn it up here and machine the seat and the trunk, and put it in the dividing head and put a groove in it. Maybe if you're not going to core that, maybe you could put a core through there to start with. Probably it's easier and better to core this particular one, I think. So that's going to be a lump of a casting, because you can remember it is actually that big. But it's all something we can do. I reckon we should be able to swing that in the lathe, clean that up, get that front done. And then big stainless steel. Big stainless steel stud through here. Stainless steel cross pin. Probably cut a piece of stainless steel for the lever. And cast the bobbin in gunmetal too, or brass or whatever, in 2 bits, or cast in 1 bit and then make a tube for the other bit. Put it together. It's not a complicated thing at all, but yeah, when you break it down to that, but it's a bit of a job. So that's one of the things I did. I CAD this Friday night or something, maybe Saturday night, when I should have been doing other things, and then it printed while I was doing other things over the weekend. So there's about 10-12 hours in this one. It's about 6 hours in this one. There's a couple of hours in the rest of the bits. 4 hours maybe all up. So bit of a job, but that's what it's going to look like if it ever happens. But you can see where the power cut was too. I think you would make this pipe and machine the ends out and push pieces in it and run a TIG weld around it or whatever. Might have to bring up my TIG welding to stand it again. But when it's done, you won't be turning it over like that. It'll be a fairly big, solid bit of steel. Big fabrication. And I guess they all had an acorn on top too, probably, which is a bit sort of superfluous, but a little bit American maybe, but we could do that too. I think the inlet pipes 1 3/4 nominal bore, something like that, 2 inch maybe nominal bore. So it's a fair lump of a pipe going into it, but it's got all the valve in, like a decent valve. I like the valve set up on this rather than just buying a whistle valve that always, never had much luck with whistle valves. They always seem to leak. It could be. However, when we need a 12 chime unit, we just make one. If we've already done one. Another thing is this is all resonating in the same bell, so you get a bit more volume, I think, probably with this than you would with separate whistles. A little bit. Oh, also did a bit of dirt scratching on the boiler cladding for the roller, which is here in the backyard. Trying to get that to the point that it's actually undercoated and nice and ready to start thinking about putting on. It's a little way off, but it's all little helps. We also cleaned out the shed and put some stuff away. I have a scroll saw for sale. So I have a little horizontal mill for sale if anyone's local, but not as keen as I should be to sell that. But anyway, probably we need to do it and put the money into the roller. Anyway, and other projects. Hey, Kim Bazzelli, good day. So, that's where we're at. Need to get some signs made for that. I don't know. I'm having to think about that. I've got a couple of good ideas. Hey, Brendan. Brendan's got his locomotive finished. That's a pretty awesome effort. People actually finish locomotives, and he's one of them. Not everyone, but some people do. I think this needs a separate sign on the outside, absolutely, rather than paint on the actual curve, because it's going to be hard to read. So I think I'm going to put a little curved, hang a curved sign on each side, and probably a straight one across the bottom with round ends, and paint that whatever colour, and maybe put some contrast lettering on it. So that's the thoughts about that. It needs to be done, but it hasn't been done yet. A bit slack, but there's 1,000 things that needs to be done. I did clean up all these coach bolts too. That's another job that I did this weekend. Run a dye over them, gave them a bit of a clean up around the ends. They still need a wire brush, but they're the coach bolts out of the running board. Am I going to this year's Barzy Bash? No. That's like next week or the week after or something. It's not going to happen. I'd like to get to Petrie to the Steam Fair, which is next weekend. I'm not even feeling like that's a thing, to be honest. But yes, I don't know. I'm feeling like my job isn't paying as much as it used to either, to be honest, with the cost of inflation and things. So if we're going to go there, I'm sort of feeling like I need to have I need to fix that. And I've been trying to fix it, but we haven't been real successful with it yet. Anyway, that's enough of that sort of crap. But generally, steam engines and international travel don't mix. That's a thing, unfortunately. And there's too many other things that have really just got to be done. And inflation stripping of buying power, that's exactly right. It seems by the time you cover your expenses, you don't seem to have a whole lot left for even necessities without even messing, not having a whinge, but without messing with hobbies and things. So the hobby goes on the back burner because we're really not spending much money on it. But there we go. And not only that, sort of away from here 12 hours a day or something most days. And it'd be very, very nice. With travel and stuff, it'd be very nice to actually have occasional weekend off. But it hasn't happened either. I'd love to go to the States. I'd love to go to California. There's friends I'd like to meet up with. There's things I'd like to see, things I'd like to do. I'd like to go to the UK. I've got plans for a trip to the UK, but I'm not sure when that's ever going to happen. Every year for the last few years we've been saying next year. You get more action than me, Peter. Believe you me. That's exactly right. TMB, that's exactly right. There's while ever the economy is driven by overseas money, we're going to have that problem. While ever the economy this has got all political all of a sudden. While ever overseas investments are part of inflation and measured economy, you're going to have a problem in that everyday person who lives in the country or is born or is born and raised in the country is not going to be able to do the things that they used to do. And unfortunately, putting the interest rates up to beat the house prices and to curb inflation isn't going to do very much. It just makes people who come from overseas and buy houses more miserable and more frugal. And anyone who lives in Australia has to pay their prices for things. Anyway. There's not really any more cash floating around. I think people are concerned with the National Australian Bank stopping cash transactions in branches. I think that's sort of been a bit of a scare tactic from various places. That's happened in the last week maybe. I don't believe that that's a long-term business model, but if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. And it's not going to affect a whole lot of their customer base because no one actually goes to the bank and withdraws cash nowadays anyway. And that's what ATMs are for, I guess. So I think that scared people because a lot of people are actually spending cash. But yes, just money in general is every other country's got inflation. That's exactly right. What some countries don't have is opportunity. So you find that we have overseas money coming here, especially from China and places like that don't really, I guess, don't have opportunity to spend the money in their countries. But yes, you buy tools with your travel money. That's exactly right. And I don't even buy very many tools, but I do things like this ridiculous thing because it didn't cost me anything to do, just for the exercise. And as for getting back on this, there's things I'd love to do on that. I haven't got there. I've got a box that I'm sort of putting together for Chirpy to send him, which is awesome. I've got a stationary steam engine here, a water pump that needs work. And nothing's happened with that. I've got a portable engine that needs dollars spent on it. And yes, it's put away safely, I guess, but I'm not feeling like that's something that's going to happen. But yes, we don't make stuff in Australia, and that's a bit of a problem. Don't know what you do about that. You can't effectively make stuff in Australia because we have too much luxury at a cheap price. That take things like a toaster, for example, right? You can buy an electric toaster down the street for what, $7, something like that, maybe 12 now. In Kmart or Coles, one of the department stores, you can go in and you can buy an electric toaster for under $20, right? Might be $20 now for a toaster. At one point they were pretty cheap. We can't compete with that because no one wants an Australian-made toaster, because to make that, right, I can't go down the street with $20 and buy a suicide leader with a plug on it and a sheet of tin to fold up and a can of spray paint or the powder coating powder or whatever, the 4 rubber feet, without even looking at the insides of the electrics or the electronics or the circuit board or anything else. There's no way I can make any of that stuff for $20. If you were to set up and make a lot of toasters and be guaranteed the market, because the government had said stop importing them, then people would probably just put up with the toaster they got. Or eventually they'd have a moan about it and they say, oh, toasters are expensive. Well, $60, $70 for a toaster. That's way too much. Or $100 for a toaster. For a basic toaster, that's too much. And that can't possibly work. You can't make a wire toasting fork for $20. Yeah, it's not just that, it's the cost of components. You can buy a circuit board from China, complete and ready to made, with the components on it for next to nothing. Whereas you can't make one in Australia because tactile button, like 4mm by 4mm tactile switches, to buy them here in Australia, the cheapest price we can get, and we bought 200 of them this year in one particular purchase. If we bought them here in Australia, they would be 18 cents each for the metal ones, 20 cents each. If you buy them from AliExpress, you can get them you can buy 200 of them for about $9. So, are we part of the problem? Yes, we're all part of the problem, because that's not going to stop. But we can't pass that price onto the end consumer. Like, you can't jack that price up and expect to make a profit by buying an Australian product, buying a Chinese product through someone else as a middleman, because they're not actually made here. And until they are made here, that's not going to change. It is. So there's not very much really that you can do about that, unfortunately. And it's a bit of a problem. But means too that there's no manufacturing jobs. anywhere. Like, there's no manufacturing. On the Gold Coast, there's never been any manufacturing because the Gold Coast was basically started as a tourist spot and ended up with a lot of office jobs, and there's been no, because it's only got big over the last 25 years, there is no manufacturing because it's not been a city that's been made in an age where there was. So Melbourne and Sydney are a bit different, but even still, there's no manufacturing there now. And even go back to 1926 when people were buying steamrollers, there still wasn't a lot of major manufacturing. Like, you couldn't buy an Australian, you probably could buy an Australian steamroller, but no one did. So you bought a Fowler because a Marshall or an Aveling was too expensive. And exactly the same thing drives the market today. So, anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but you can't fix the problem. So, at this point, really the only thing you can do is say no overseas home property investment for 5 years after you move here. I think that would be probably a... Well, there were several Australian-made engines, but none of them were particularly... Like, there wasn't a lot of made in quantities. Yeah, you can't really fix that. But components have gone expensive price, not so much because inflation drives them up, but because people who are awake in countries that produce them are pocketing the profits. So, don't know if you can fix that. I do notice the majority of chime whistles here available new worldwide are made in South Australia. That's pretty awesome. So if you want a chime whistle, they're actually made in South Australia, and they're sent all over the world to tourist railways and things to different specifications. But same deal. Be nice to own one. Not going to happen. Anyway. Don't know. Can't fix any of that. All you can do is just keep going as you are and don't undervalue yourself. I guess you take care, Matt. Go and do some work. And look out for a job that pays what it's worth. That's not as easy as it sounds either for a lot of people. There are a lot of people that can't do that. But I don't think it's the Illuminati. I'm pretty confident it's not the Illuminati, and it's not the aliens either. It's very unlikely to be the aliens. And it's probably reasonably unlikely to be reptilians. It's certainly, without going down that rabbit hole, got a lot to do with the people who probably call Israel home. Yeah, but I'm not sure they control as much as that. Much of the economy as they used to either, but there are reasons that there's no US war machine in the Middle East at the moment, and you've got to think about who actually controls the dollars there. Anyway, I'm getting way off topic. You've drawn me out on this, and I'll never be the same. Like, I'll be unhappy for weeks about this, so I'm sorry. But I'm not feeling particularly charitable with anyone who comes from a background that rides camels in the Middle East anyway at the moment, if we can put it that way. Anyway, that's about where we're at. I'm going to try and get some black paint on this weekend. If I get a chance, I might shoot some video. I might do a live or something, stand by on Sunday afternoon, something like that, or Monday night, sort of as a special one from messing around with the roller. Anyway, don't hold your breath, because I'm probably just going to get in and actually do some work. And end up be that black that I'm not going to shoot any video or touch any camera gear or anything. Anyway, if anyone has any more important input about that, or one of these castings for Great Northern Chime and Whistle kicking around that they want to donate to the cause, I'd be very happy. But drawn me out enough. I'm going to call it, I think. I really appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to my crap for the night. I probably needed to talk about all that anyway. And be kind to each other, I guess. That's where we know what we need to take away from this. I'm not particularly good at that, but at the moment. But we'll see how we go. I've got a couple of 3 or 4 busy weeks. Next weekend is Petrie's Steam Fair. This weekend is house sitting for Fridge and Harley and Sam. So they're not even going to be there, Stuart. I'm just going to actually do the work. The weekend after that, we're back down to put the roof on the shed, which is getting very close to being ready to go. And then the weekend after that, we're only a month off Glen Ray. So I'm guessing we're going to be putting the roller back together. The boiler inspector turns up on the 2nd of June, which means the boiler inspector's going to need some money, and I'm probably having a little bit of an existential crisis about that, but we'll get there. Anyway, I need some work. If someone's got some sign painting work they want to spend throw some cash at, hit me up. Because I'd be definitely down to doing it. Anyway, thanks guys. No one's watching. No, I'm out. We'll see ya.